Greetings. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Clint Sabom, Executive Spiritual Coach for Franz Bardon practitioners, and we've got a great little segment today on mental health and Bardon work. Before I get to that, I want to let you know, as I often do, that I offer coaching, individual sessions, and group sessions. I have online classes and you can find everything I offer at my website, clintsaybom.com. And I'll also put some links below in the show notes to this segment. So in this video, I want to get to mental health and Bardon work because I think it's a topic that's applicable for so many different people. And it's just basically something that's very, very common. A lot of people start seeing me for Bardon, and then it ends up becoming more like psychotherapy, which is great. I am here to offer that. I tend to be in the psychodynamic side of things, but I also have some training in CBT. But I really like the 60s psychologists the best. So, anyways, that's my take on psychology, but having mental health issues is no reason not to do Bardon. I mean, basically, that's the thing I want to say in the forefront because I used not to think that. I used to think you had to get your mental health issues worked out completely before you started doing Bardon. But initiation into hermetics is therapy. It is therapy. You're working on yourself with the whole thing. So there's no reason that having things like anxiety and depression should stop you. And I do think with a lot of things, when you get into guilt and shame and blame and depression and anxiety and especially trauma, I think talking about it is very, very important and very, very helpful because it gets it out of your system. Shame is a difficult thing to talk about. Traumas are often difficult to talk about. But I think the more you talk about them and be selective with who you talk about them with, or you can just talk about them with me, but talking about them in a safe space can very much release them and diffuse the power of them. So you have all these kinds of lower emotions. And as far as shame, the other side of shame is pride. And I do think in general, pride is higher on the food chain of emotions than shame. It's actually more practical to be a little arrogant than it is to just feel embarrassed about yourself. I mean, in a sense, you could almost say shame and depression are anger turned inwards. That's basically what Freud said, anger turned inwards in a form of self-hate. And that is absolutely, the worst place to be. But anger at others, anger at the world, anger at people that hurt you, that can be healthy to have. That can be a movement forward. And obviously, with Bardon, you have the white and black soul mirrors. So you have that to put down. And you also have these meditation exercises in the vacancy of mind that starts in step one. And a lot of that will calm down the nervous system and help emotions to be released. Vacancy of mind does bring up and release a lot of emotions. The longer you can stay into vacancy of mind, the more fluid your emotional life will be. So that's one thing to consider. I think vacancy of mind is very, very powerful. I think auto suggestion is very powerful too, because it's affirmations. And a lot of times it's good to use affirmations to challenge the emotions you are stuck in. If you're really feeling powerless and ashamed and traumatized, using the auto suggestion affirmation, I am powerful, can basically turn that around because it's going to challenge what that emotion of shame and trauma is telling you. So you can turn things around with auto suggestion, challenge all those negative emotions that haunt you with saying their opposite in an affirmation, and reprogram your mind, reprogram your whole being, physical, soul, and spirit, all the way. So that's another powerful tool that Bardon gives. And then the pour breathing with the elements that I often like to come back to. That can heal a lot of emotions. I mean, seriously, breathing in fire and getting the fire element, the fire can burn away shame. The fire can burn away trauma. You can actually literally burn trauma getting charged with the fire element. That's one thing to keep in mind. You can flood trauma with getting real charged with the water element, and you can release it into the air by getting real charged with the air element. And you can ground it back into earth and have things feel more stable. Getting charged with the earth element can make you feel more solid rather than shaky nerves all the time. So those are some things to keep in mind that will really help you with mental health issues. But I also think it's important to deal with these things outside of Bardon in some way, because this is the whole being we're talking about. This is everything. This is life. This is the journey. This is the space we have all been given. This earth is a purgatorial planet where we are sent here to purge certain things that we agreed to work on before our previous incarnation. If you saw my last video on reincarnation. So this is what we have. So work on it all. There's nothing to be excluded in this path forward. It's all what we're bringing to the table at each and every moment. And so you kind of go through, and I'm coming off of David Hawkins, I'm coming off of the Sedona method. I'm talking about the kind of chain of going up with emotions, and anger and pride get you kind of moving forward. And then you can get eventually, hopefully, into the larger, higher realms of equanimity and love and joy and peace. So those are some things to keep in mind. That's what awaits you. But don't feel like, oh man, I'm nowhere near there. I'll never get there. Be where you are. Fully feel that shame, fully feel that trauma, and talk about it. Own it, sit in it, stir in it. That's what's going to happen. And it will, you can get through it all. So if you're interested in more, you can see me for one-on-one coaching, and we can deal with mental health issues alongside Bardon work. And you can contact me at my website at quintsabom.com.